Um, okay, there we go. All right, guys. Good afternoon. I am admitting you a good afternoon, good evening. Where did I stay? Somewhere. Okay. So I think we will have more of a formal class tonight. Um, the reason being that I need to actually teach you something more than just you know, how to find stuff on my list. Okay, so I'm gonna ask that you just mute when you come in, and I will admit you as you come in about as soon as. So there's a lot of you. Okay, so good evening. So assignment one has passed. There has been a few emails asking for live submissions. It's unfortunately something I don't really even entertain in this module. You had enough time from when registrations closed. Only if you can prove that your registration was late, then I will consider giving that. But for the rest, I see that the marks are coming along nicely and everybody is doing um, really well in the assignment. So I'm glad. Um, Teammates has also closed. I will be reviewing that probably tomorrow to see how things are going and where their biggest problems are. But for tonight, we are going to focus a little bit on why you're doing the things you are doing and what the process is. I will allow for questions, so but not in between the whole time. I'm trying to just see if we can get it done in an hour's time, and then we will go from there. Okay. So what I'm going to start tonight's class and ask you the question, and I'd like either type it or lift your hand. So, what is the key to any research, or what is the thing that you have to get right for any type of research? Ernest?
You need to understand the problem.
Okay, great. Yes, you are right. So, you need to understand the problem. And this is also why we are first doing let me just mute. Try and mute yourself when you come in. So this is also why we are doing having a look at the problem from two lenses in this specific module. So easier one for you guys to understand who haven't done research is a called the real world problem. And then mute guys, please mute as you come in. And the other is then an academic problem. So the two worlds, and you need to remember this going forward and into any research, the two worlds are totally different. So in a real world problem, it's something that you can feel, see, and experience. In an academic world, you need to justify the problem, and the problem is something that you find in academic literature, right? So you cannot take the problem that you have here as it is. Just give me a moment. I want to go out the door and just um, research that in academic terms. When we do it later on, we need to go then to literature, and this is what we will do, and find a justification for that as a academic problem in literature. And that's normally found then in what is called recommendations for future research in papers. So you would see as you are reading for other modules that there's always a section at the end of any academic paper that says recommendations for future research. That's always a good way to motivate that you are doing this, especially when it comes out of a peer-reviewed type research. For real-world research problem, we won't be able to do it that easily, right? We don't have a cheat for it. Some of you will have problems that you find within your organizations, and some of you would also experience problems anywhere. So we use, and I'm going to somewhere, let me just share my screen for a moment. At all. Okay, so I just want to look at this picture here. So if you look at human-centered design and you look at just Google the thing, you get a lot of different infographics. But the one that I want you to focus on for now is to look at this bigger one here, the one from the Mantel group. So why do we first keep it there? Right? We keep it there because where do problems lie? Problems lie with what we experience, right? So it's the people. In order for us to understand the problems of people, we need to have empathy. Otherwise, it's not a problem that we experience or not experience that we think it's worth solving, right? And then, if we understand the people and we have the empathy to understand the problem that they have, we can then design something to solve that problem. So, and this is why we are starting HR Buzz where we are starting it. It's easier to understand people or your own problem or the problem of people around you than it is to understand the problem of something that most of you are not necessarily involved in. Although the four industries that I gave, if you position it correctly and you understand what's going on around that, I'm sure that you would be able to somehow see a problem that you can relate to within this, right? Let us take, for example, the quarry or the industry there. All of us have used some sort of aggregate that comes from a quarry for some or other thing, or we've seen it being used for something, right? So it has an implication everywhere, and most of us have had some or seen some building being done and seen how that solves a specific problem. But in order for us to actually make money from solving a problem, which is the purpose of this part of HR Buzz, we need to be able to see how do we take this problem and this empathy and this design and put it together. And we use a tool called a business model canvas to actually create or identify a problem that is worth solving and a solution that you can sell. So worth selling. Okay. So you can look at it through different lenses. They've complicated it a lot. But the best way to do that is to go through this process that you see, the scope impact scope process. Okay, so first you need to discover the problem, and this is where we are currently busy in HR Buzz. And to do that, you need to understand, and you would have learned this throughout undergraduate in business management, or you would have done it probably in strategic management already. You need to understand that in any business operates almost like to use Shrek, an onion, right? So we're in the core here where our business is, and it's surrounded by different environments. And this is why we need to unpack the environments to be able to see where the different problems are that might not have been solved or might have been solved in a wrong way. Or we can even look at the blue ocean. I don't know if you've done blue ocean by now. And say, okay, what is the solution that is there? Is there something that I can take away, that I can put there, that's unnecessary in a current solution, that if I take it away, I can differentiate myself to such an extent or create such a bigger, cheaper type of product that I can go to different market, right? So this is why we're using the tools to unpack these layers so that if we understand and we can discover, we get insights. You see this? But I want to show you, but my mouse is running around there. You see the insights part there. So we get insights, but as you see, this line runs, right? It's almost iteratively. So you can get the insight, and the insight would say, the problem that I thought I had isn't actually a problem. So now, as I speak to people more and understand more, and this is where we are going there for assignment 3, we will realize that um, somebody is breaking down something in this house. Just give me 2 seconds. I'll be back. Sorry about that. So, and as we look at this problem, we say, okay, no, actually, it's not really the way the problem is. So the solution that we have won't really solve the problem. And that's what I say it's important that when you go through this, and this is called ideation process, in order for you to get to a point where you can understand and develop your strategy, you must never go with a business idea. So a lot of you have been speaking in colloquially in these brown bags about, okay, but now I've got the idea. You mustn't find an idea. You must find the problem. The idea will come later. You must first confirm the problem. You did some desk research, but you've never spoken to people, going back to this one, to understand if this idea, your design, really fits the problem. Okay. Now, okay. If we have a look. Okay. So the tool that we are going to use in HRBus is called the Business Model Canvas. Now, Business Model Canvas is actually a very nice summary of everything that you need to for a business, a project, or even a business. Even if you look at your own business or the company you work for, even if you look at UNISA, you need to have all these in alignment. So we in academia talk about a golden thread, in practice is more called in alignment, in order for you to generate money from it. And this is where we are heading, right? You cannot understand who the customer is, right? If you do not understand the problem and the layers surrounding the problem. So this is why you also have to look at the different stakeholders surrounding. Because if you only go with an idea, you've got a limited scope of who your customer would be, right? You then build on an assumption that you make on who your customer is, and then you start building a relationship with that assumption. And if that assumption is incorrect or if that assumption is too small, you will not be able to generate a sufficient income to cover any costs or and then support your key activities nor your key resources. Okay. So the one resource that I've been sending you all to is strategizers. Okay, so you are mostly 4 to 5 in a group. Some of you are 3 in a group, depending on when people thing is a quit. So this strategizer has got a lot of different programs. They also have a lot of different free resources. They're just different free resources that you can access to actually help you. So you would have to create an account. You can use any Gmail, Google, whatever that you want. And this one. It's free of charge. So it's called the Open Educational Resource. See if it's that one. Oops. What was the password that I use? Yeah. Oh, cook forgot the password. Get it at the beginning. We'll get it back. Okay, so if I get, let me just take a few questions. Are you with me for now?
Yes, so far.
Yes, yes, Doc.
Right.
Yes, following.
Yes. Cool. Let's just get see if it comes through. Let's hope it comes through. Guys, let's use another one. What is something? So it has to have think that just okay. So you would get a trial, right? So just check the trial expires after a while. So before you start, I don't want to pay, but so to show it how it works. So before you start this, um, um, just check. Okay, but anyways, let's have a look at the resources here. So you are the next assignment, we are going to work on assignment 3, not 2. You are going to work on a value proposition canvas. This is gonna pull back in then into the business model canvas. So if you see how nicely it works, you can just get here and then you can just draw and write in this as you brainstorm. So the idea for these specific tools is to use them in like we are doing now in a team setup and share the screen and brainstorm ideas. Right, so you can say, okay, this is the customer segment. It speaks to the relation. How do we build a relationship with them? How do we get our product to them? And the value proposition sits there and the customer sits there. So for me, it's important tonight that you understand that if you have a problem, right, and a problem must be that one of the things that students often get wrong is that they have a problem, but it's not a problem. So a problem will be something negative, right? There's not enough water in Joburg. there are too many potholes in Pretoria. Those are problems. What's not a problem? I'm thinking of something. The highway is not blacked up today. Is not the problem. Or we are driving around on the highway with no traffic. It might be a problem. I wonder where the people went, but it is not worded as a problem. So make sure that when you identify your problem, that it is really something negative and that it could have a negative consequence if it's not addressed or not solved. Okay. We always in this module, we try to link things to the SDGs, especially when it comes to research later on. But if you link it here, you can pull a golden thread then through to your final project at the end of the year as well. So then everything flows together. So how do we know? Let me just see. This little share your screen thingy is on my. Okay. All right. So how do we know where? So you are now peeling your onion, right? So this is where we are. So we're not, again, it's important, guys, that you remember we are not trying to get to the business idea. The business idea sits here. You see this little gift? This is the business idea. You're not there yet. You are here, right? Trying to understand what this person's problem is that you are solving. Okay, a cell phone solves a communications problem, right? It solves a problem of taking a photo or not having a camera with you to take a photo. It's not a business idea. It's a problem solution, right? So make sure that you keep that in mind the whole time. And why do I say it is because if you go with the idea and say, okay, I want to go and sell loom bands. I've got a 9-year-old that is just making loom bands and she's selling them at school. Okay. I'm not sure that she really saw a problem there. I just think the kids are buying it because they are there and they've got R1 to buy something with. But that's the wrong way of doing it. It's not something that is sustainable or growable because there's no real problem. Although when you start speaking to her, she says, when you wear one of, she sold one to me as well. If you wear one of these loom bands, you feel important when you have something around your arm. So she's selling them a sense of importance because sometimes children feel like they are not important to other people, especially at school. So if indeed that is something that she actually went on and went through this process with, and this is not something necessarily a 9-year-old can do, then she might have a problem that is worth solving. It might not be with these little loom bands that she's making. It might just be something related to this, right? But that being said, so if we look at this loom band little idea that she has, and our focus is only on the loom bands, right? We're not going to think out of the box. But the moment we see the problem as she sees it, and it's that children feel that they need to have something to wear to not be alone or to be seen. The problem arises that children are alone and feel not seen in big schools. Okay, so this is then a pain that they are experiencing, right? And then we would say here, okay, they are feeling alone. Now, you are not allowed to go speak to children all adults. So nobody under 18, nobody over 65, please, in this module. You would have learned that in ethics also. So the pain that she perceives that they have is that these kids are feeling alone. Right? So now, for us to really understand if this is a problem, we need to go speak to at least, and they say by experience, 100 other kids in that same thing. Now, for you to understand who this person is, right, we need to go back. So, with her idea, we're going from the inside out, but you are not sure what the problem is, right? So, you need to dig in. So, for her, we need to go a little bit inside out and then repack this to understand what gains or what jobs does this thing do in order to understand the problem better. So now, if we start, we say, okay, who is feeling alone? Who are these people that are feeling alone? Okay, it's kids. Is it girls? Is it boys? Is it where are they staying? And then we start packing on, right, the microenvironment. Then, once we understand this microenvironment, we then pack on what's happening in the market, okay? So, if kids are feeling alone in schools, what's happening outside the schools that's causing them to be feeling alone, right? And then, I'm going to just admitting. And then, what is happening in bigger society that's causing this? Now we realize, okay, actually, it's not kids that feel alone. It's kids that feel the pressure of having two parents working. I'm just making it up. Like I said, I don't really think she thought of an idea. So, and then you can go back and say, okay, would the loom band really solve this problem? Right? How can I change, add to it? How can I reduce to it? But is it not just something nice for kids to play with sensory, right? So is there something I can add to this to help them? And then you can start playing around once you understand the problem. But you can only understand the problem if you understand the people that's in here and get empathy and then design something that will solve this. You understand that? Yeah. Don't understand.
Not
Uli?
sure I understand yet, but let's
Okay.
I'll see how it goes.
Okay. So it's about a very philosophical light out there. So, or not philosophical, so it's a little bit psychological, right? So why do you use a cell phone?
Oh, you're asking me. Okay, yes.
Yeah.
It's like you said earlier, as for communications, if you want to take a photo, if you want to use a calculator, you want to send an email, it reduces the
Convenience.
stress of having to, yes, in a nutshell, convenience.
Yeah, it's convenience. So, and it's making even, so you know who else sells convenience out there? Except for cell phone companies.
Suppose supermarkets?
Supermarkets. Who else? McDonald's. So takeaways, all selling convenience.
But not
But you
necessarily
don't,
healthy, but yes, convenience.
yeah, it's convenience. A cell phone is definitely not healthy. I can tell you, it needs to go off and go in the bin somewhere at the time, right? Because it keeps you connected the whole time. So that's my opinion. Anyway, might not be scientific, but that's my problem with the cell phone. So if we then look, would you then say that McDonald's and cell phones compete with each other?
I would say to a certain degree, yes, because just from that convenience aspect.
Because you can even take your cell phone and order McDonald's if you want to. Even make that even more convenient. Right? So it's almost made the drive-through part. It's still a market that don't use it, but we've solved that. Checker 6060, Pick and Pay ASAP, Spar, right? Their Spar to Me app. It's all convenience. And look how big Checker 6060 has become. And what did they do any differently? They realized that there was, I'll give you a chance now, good morning. They realized that there is a problem, right? People are, both parents or both people in a relationship are working, people are working late hours, they don't get time to go shop. You hear all the problems, right? So now they're just going for unhealthy convenience type food. So now they've made supermarket shopping convenient. Ngubani?
Thank you, Doc. Just a point of clarity. Once a gap has been identified or a problem has been identified, surely the writer is gonna hypothesize about what are the likely solutions even before they go observe the role players, as many as they can
Yes.
observe. But they must somehow have a 10 hypothesis or two or one. I heard you saying that we must hold off a bit from
You can,
solving.
of solving it, yes.
But at least
Immediately.
but at least you must have some type of an inclination on what could be the
Yeah, you
likely.
will. You
Okay.
will. Okay, so let's go back to the Loomban, Ngubani, right? So my daughter is trying to solve people feel or kids feeling alone by selling them R1 Loombans. That's the idea she's got. Do you think it's going to solve that problem?
No, I'm not sure until I have tested it out there.
So that's my thing. So now, but if I go and I give all the kids, or I sell to, I take this Loomban, when I take it to kids and I say, okay, look at this. Do you like it? Yes, it's a pretty Loomban. Would you buy it for R1? Yes, I would buy it for R1. Give it to me, I sell it for R1. Would I know if I solved that problem?
You wouldn't know again until you do secondary observation of
There
them
you go.
using
So,
it.
yeah, so that's the thing, right? So, if I go, so I don't, you can have an idea, but when you go to speak to people, it's it would be better to not take the Loom with you, right? And so rather say, okay, do you feel alone, right? Why, um, have you it's very difficult. One went on an idea. She's got the idea, and I'm not really sure how to ask questions to understand that problem better already. But okay, so let's say okay, you go and ask them. Listen, what are you doing on break times? Are you playing with the ball? Are you sitting to the one side? Are you reading a book? Um, Do you believe in fairy tale characters? Do you like, I don't know, soft things? Do you like rubbery textures? Do you sit and rub your hands during class? So without specifically speaking to them about the Loomban, because I want to understand and confirm before I do anything else that they really feel alone. And then I can go and say, all right, now I understand that they do feel alone and they maybe do believe in superheroes and they like this type of picture and they play with their hands in class. So something like this would be more like a fidget thing for them to play with. So you might not be solving the alone problem, but you might help with concentration. Or if they think of the happy colors, it makes them feel happy and lets them think of their favorite mermaid and their imagination takes off and they don't feel so alone anymore. I don't know, I'm not the psychology major. I don't understand how people think. But that's the idea behind understanding the pains, right? And if I then look at those questions and say, okay, they fiddle with their hands. You understand that if I give them this thing to play with, they gain something to fiddle with. And if I give them something that's their superhero, I don't know if you can see the colors nicely. This is mermaid color, right? And it takes them to a place that makes them feel happy. It's another gain, right? And now they don't feel so alone because they enter their imaginary world. Please don't quote me on this. This is just something that I'm making up as I'm going along. But
No.
now there's gains. Now I can say, okay, this thing, to do this, I need to create something, either a service or a product that can have these jobs that I'm talking about, right? Making them not feel alone, giving them something to fidget with. You can do different things and whatever you want to with it. And now, based on this, I can say, yes, I have a product that relieves pains, create gains, and this loom band I can sell or not. And then I've got a value proposition, because the value in this lies not in, I don't know, 20 rubber bands, but lies in its ability to not make you feel alone.
Thank you. You've clarified me in the value being in the utility of what is now being proposed. Thank you.
Okay, cool. So, and that's why I say the value of a cell phone is not the cell phone itself. The value of a cell phone lies in, for me, I don't have the screen, in the pictures that are there. In the convenience of quickly being able to go on an email and speak to you guys or answer you on a WhatsApp quickly. The value is not necessarily in the device itself. Okay. And this is why it's important then to start where we are starting, except if you understand, like I said now, I don't know how she realized this, but except if you understand the problem, or even if you feel the problem yourself, maybe it's something that she's experiencing, right? And now she does this because if she sells it, she doesn't feel alone. So then I need to step in. But the point is, you won't know what this problem is and the alone and the gains that you can make out of things if you don't dig deeper and speak to other people about the problem before you go and sell things to them. Okay. All right, so strategize, back to strategize. And these are the value proposition, then the business model canvas. If you again go at back into the website, there's different things. You will also be using them later on, a learning card and a test card. So a learning card is something that say, okay, before I go and speak to people. So that hypothesis, Nkubani, that you have, you say, I believe that I can sell these loom bands, or I believe that people feel alone. Or you say, I believe that I can sell these loom bands, and I have observed that people feel alone. Right? From that, what have we learned? Right? And therefore we will do. So if we say, okay, from these insights that we have, we learned that kids, look at this value proposition, need to have something to play with and to link their imagination back so that they don't feel alone. Right? This is what we did. So therefore, we will go speak to more kids to make sure that this is the problem. And if we ask them those questions that we ask them, we can confirm this that we believe. So that's then the learning card there. And then the testing card is just the other side. Now we speak to people in between and say, okay, we believe that, again, to verify that, we will do this and we will measure. And if we are right, this is what we will find. Sorry, it's the other way around. So this one is the first one. And the learning card is that we observe that this one you do before and this one you do after. So it's basically what we did now, just structured a little bit better. Makes sense? Or no? Okay. And this is why this is a wonderful tool for me. And especially because it's free also. You can use it for work. You can use it for basically anything. So when you approach any problem, if you approach it using a business model canvas, even if you approach it only using this value proposition, any project, you can say, okay, what is the problem? What is the pains that this problem are causing? What is the gains that are needed? What is it that we must kind of put together? And then say, okay, how will we relieve it? Then you can approach almost any project that you take on from this side using these tools. Okay, so there's different tools you can have a look. There is 9 questions to assess your business model design, but these will give you some, you will use them later on. There's also some training videos that you can watch. There's a mastering value propositions. You can go through that. It helps you understand exactly. It takes 39 minutes to work through, and you would understand exactly this that I'm trying to teach you. Perhaps a bit less complicated than I make it seem. There's also introduction to value proposition canvas, a quick video, and then also an introduction to business business model canvas. And then from idea to business would then be, how do you fill in the rest of this business model canvas? So if we go, I want to just make sure that I don't take too many big steps, because last year that was the problem. That's why you've got so many small assignments. Let's have some questions while we wait for my Nisa. Trying quickly tonight. I don't know where I put the group assignment template, that it's still opening weird. So this one.
It's 2 places where it's actually uploaded.
Oh, okay. Because Mac, I actually did it when you were in class. Oh, it's this one that's wrong. This one, yeah, that's wrong. Okay. All right, I need to change that one. I was like, I'm sure I changed it. Okay, so assignment 2. Okay, you guys are kind of sure now by now how to approach assignment 2, or do you still have questions on assignment 2? Alden?
Still have questions here. So
Okay.
in my team, we were kind of, spending a couple of days now trying to finalize this poster. But the
Yes.
confusing part we had from last week's Brownback session was the in-text referring on the poster itself, because we went like with keywords now and almost like bullet point wise. So now, and a lot of the stuff that we spoke about is not necessarily from an article or journal that we read, but it's what we remember from prior years of study as well, with the specific, like for instance, Porter's 5 models or from Pastel as well. So now the question is that if we, for instance, for everything that we have on the poster, do we need to have an in-text reference? Can we not just put the in-text reference as part of the, suppose
You
if you
just
can't
want
put it
to
as,
put them at the end, like a bibliography.
yes. So instead of adding it to the poster itself, because then the poster is going to look very cluttered, because we were, we were playing around with different font sizes to make sure everything fits on the poster, so that the poster doesn't become not a poster, if that makes sense.
I hear what you say. Okay. If we put it there, you know why I put it back, Alton? You remember that student, I don't know, last week, Wednesday evening, who put the ChatGPT poster up?
Oh yes, on the WhatsApp group, and then took it off again.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. So I don't think ChatGPT can also in-text reference the poster. I'm not sure. It could perhaps. I haven't even
Okay.
tried to. So I was I don't know, Ngubani, do you know?
No, I don't think so. But Doc, I mean, we used Low and Fenter as the key
Yeah.
book and strategy, and we've decided that majority of these environmental analysis are covered in different pages of Fenter and Low, and
Yeah.
we've not created a number of in-text references. We've tried to keep it narrow into one or two sources or three sources, so that
Okay.
that satisfies the in-text referencing, but it's not cluttered by introducing too many sources. That's how we've
Okay.
approached it, Doc.
Okay, cool. I think, Alton, if you approach it like that, at least it will help us avoid ChatGPT posters, because I'm sure it's gonna struggle.
Yeah.
And you have your index references also.
Okay. Yeah, I think that makes actually more sense then. And then just to confirm that the human assumption questions, it's obviously not going to fit in that poster.
No,
And
you can put
if I
it in a
recall,
page. Sure.
in an additional page. Okay.
Yeah. B?
Doc, good evening, and good evening, everyone else. I wanted to seek some clarity, if still on that on the assignment about the poster. If you read the question, it says marks will be awarded not for describing just the poster, but for interacting, for the interaction. Now, I need clarity in terms of what that interaction means, because if I take the poster and then I describe Pastel, I describe 5 forces, I describe industry mapping, I also describe stakeholder analysis. Is that enough? What do they mean what do you mean when you say interaction? Does it mean linking?
Yes, they must all speak to the same thing. So if you have a very generic Pastel analysis, right? And that's watch out for that. Then to say, okay, we've got a volatile political environment at the moment. We see the president is currently in the US, right? Will it affect the fresh produce market? How will, if you look at that as a problem, as something that could affect, make sure then that you kind of link these things through. So you don't just have a generic list of things that you mention, and you don't show how these things, kind of interrelate. So they must speak to one another. Do you understand?
So am I right to say you have to refer to Tshwane fresh produce on each of the tools. Am I right
Yeah,
to
so
say?
you would say the pastel analysis of the Tshwane fresh produce market. Okay, what are the environmental factors? So we know that at this point we have a El Nino environment, so there's a bit of a drought happening. So that is actually affecting the ability of farmers to produce tomatoes. I don't know if you see the price of potatoes. You also see that there's different types of animals that they have that is specifically kind of genetically modified, if you want to say, or bred, then to be drought resistant. You get drought master cattle, you get meat master sheep, Damara sheep. So all these things are specific, and it's all related from fresh produce market.
Yeah, I'm answered. Thank you, Doc.
Okay. But see, I'm gonna give you a second name ago. Canva.
First of all, good evening, everyone. Good evening, Prof. I hope everyone is good.
Good, thank you.
No, Prof. With regard to your statement regarding the generic pestle and five forces statement. Look, Prof, the way I see it, it's a bit touch and go, Prof, because you need to keep in mind the fact that based on the space that we're making a poster, it's very limited the amount of space we can actually use when we are creating these posters, right? So I think we have now put in a situation now where it's a bit tricky now as to how we navigate that. Look, for example, if so in my group, I'm working on the five forces, right?
Okay.
I need to get to the points direct. I can't add too much information. Look, I've done a lot of research on this with my team. We've done that, plenty of that. But now we've all agreed that we have to cut it down and minimize how much information we're sharing in the poster, purely because it needs to be in a poster format, right? So it's a bit confusing now, Prof, when you're saying that it can't be generic.
Not generic. Okay.
Yes, it becomes touch and go there, Prof, because the reality of the matter is that there's going to be a lot of generic responses in the sense that the problems and all of that we are facing are going to be, they're going to sound generic purely because we are approaching getting to the point. So how do we navigate around that? And also in terms of referencing, would it be a problem if we decided to, instead of in-text referencing, decide to go on the route of having footnotes? Because I feel like
put a little number in and then put footnotes.
Yes, I think
you can do it.
It looks a bit neater in terms of a poster because okay, no, Prof, thank you. You've answered my question. Thank you, Prof.
Okay, so about generic. Okay, so if you look at five forces, you can look at threat of new entries, or you can look at competitors. So I just don't want the point when you say just competitors as an answer. It becomes a lot more prudent later on when you look at your resources and your key activities that you would need to do. Students often just say human resources or physical resources. So watch out, and that's what I'm talking to. So when you've done the research like that, Canva, and you understand that the threat of a new entry, if we are selling loom bands, would be quite high because it's very easy to make. And the cost of making it is, you buy like packets of these things for like I think 20 cents a packet. So it's not very the threat of new entries is very high. So if you could just speak directly to what you are doing rather than just saying, well, there's competition. You understand what I'm trying to say about generic. That
Alright,
chat
Prof, no.
GPT post that I actually saved it.
Alright. No, Doc, thank you. You answered my question very well. We know how to proceed going forward. Thank you very much, Prof.
That chat GPT post, I don't know who of you could take a screenshot. I had it, right? That was generic. It just said 5 forces, new entries, computers, that type of thing. Okay. Let's get to questions. Yes, you can use any app to create the poster. Just don't let ChatGPT create the poster for you. But just admit. You can, even if you did the research, perhaps he could draw it, but just watch out. He lies sometimes. Okay, citing resources, like Canva said, you can use footnotes. So you put a little number and you put it in the end. Or like you could put only selected references in the text. But you could have pictures as well. If you only have pictures, it becomes difficult because I could interpret it differently. So, but I don't want paragraphs. So when I said I don't want text, I don't want paragraphs. This is a poster. You know how to make a poster. I showed you my degree poster. There's nothing else. Let's see, can it zoom? Oh, it's not zooming. It's not coming into focus. I don't know how to get it to focus. Blurring like because it's background. I'll take a picture and put it on the group. Right? A poster has both pictures and text, but the text is not overwhelming. I'll quickly take a picture for you. I'll send it on the WhatsApp group. Then you can see what I think a poster is. Okay. Where did you go in your? Okay. Cool. I put the example. It's on the WhatsApp groups, guys. Okay. That doesn't have in-text references at all because that was done while I was speaking. Okay. Where are we? Okay, to your hands now. Just admit those two. Okay, Ntombi Futi.
Hi, Dr. Good evening, everyone. Thanks for pronouncing my name correctly, but in terms of statistical analysis, my team and I were struggling a bit yesterday when we met to discuss the finalization of our poster. We were trying to figure out if we should add all items on the pastel relating to our discussion, or should we only pick those few that we think are relating to our topic discussion. I'm not sure if you are getting my question. Should we take all?
Yes, you don't list everything in the everything that in the environment. So, for example, I was using for the fresh produce market, like the drought master cattle, right? It's not necessarily, and this is also where it becomes generic, right? So it's not necessarily something that would affect everything in the in there. So make sure that what you list, you don't have to put everything in, but drought does affect potatoes, right? So drought would go in there. All that other things that I said about the cattle and the sheep and the potatoes, that don't necessarily have to be in there.
Oh, thank you for the clarity. And then for the establishment exercise, I heard you saying we can edit on a separate page and not necessarily on the poster. So we can
Yes.
have 2 attachments.
Yeah. So you have that template thingy, and then you put your poster in, and then you have the talking to humans as on the back and the reference list on the back of that.
Okay, thank you for the clarity.
Okay, perfect. Sandri?
Hi, Doctor. Good evening, everyone.
Hi.
We just had a question in our group earlier, and it's a bit of a strange one so late in the game leading up to assignment 2. But the thought arose as to whether we are thinking about this in the right way, right? We are working towards a business proposition. I know we're not there yet, and especially with what you mentioned tonight, we don't need to get sidetracked by that. But looking at the different markets we're assessing, right? We don't, the question I suppose is, do we need to focus on it from the perspective of the market itself? Or can we look at it from any of the participants in that particular market? So if we're looking at the fresh produce market, that could be potential for a new market, a supplier that wants to enter that market, someone who wants to use the market as their supply to sell a good. From what perspective can we approach this problem?
You can apply anything. That's why I say use it as a kind of a resource. So you can say, okay, am I going to sell something? Is it something that I want to change? Even if I look at it from a perspective to say, okay, maybe I can look into something that addresses precision farming, or I don't know, the roads leading to the fresh produce market, I know is a problem.
Okay, so we can look at it from any angle as long as it's
Yeah.
relating to that particular market.
Yeah.
Because I mean, that broadens up the horizon significantly when we do the analysis as well, because we shouldn't just look at it from the perspective of the market in itself.
No, you can open, so it's almost an agricultural industry.
Okay.
If it helps.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, Doctor. That helps.
Okay, perfect. Nguboni?
Thank you. Just I'm stepping off maybe assignment 2 into assignment, the next assignment. From an ethical considerations point of view, would you suggest that observations are better than interviews because of the limitations? I mean, you can passively observe all the players. Let's take, for instance, in the market, in the market, you can look at traders. You can observe them passively without having to get close to the fine lines of ethical considerations. I'm just worried about interviews and all the other ethical considerations. Would you suggest, or would you be aligned to the
So
method?
this is for the stakeholder. So
Yes.
you need to understand your stakeholder, right? And it says observe what the day in their life looks like.
Yes.
So it's fine. Observe. Write down, reflect. So a lot of what we do, and I know sometimes the jump seems a bit big, right? So you don't necessarily need to speak like you are saying, Nguboni. You don't necessarily need to speak. You can just go and watch them. You can do a desktop analysis and see, okay, this is what people are doing. But don't do it being creepy and all with the, binoculars looking at what people are doing. But I'm just teasing a little bit. Do it, ask their permission to do it, or follow them and go see what they are doing. If you guys want to do this with farmers, just email me or Kagiso, so we just help you not to get into trouble with farmers. Okay.
Thank you.
It would be better if you want to observe that specific group, guys, that you rather that you just email me. I do know a lot of farmers that would be able to give you some insights, or go speak to the koöperasies, so UBARU, OVK, that type of thing. Okay, don't just go to any farmer's house. Ernest.
Hi, everybody. Just a quick one. With I know that from I think it was the third brown paper, we were just looking at a certain layout of the poster, and essentially what I kind of grasped from that concept was that let's say you have two different SDGs now coming relating into your what do you call it, your not your market, our resource. Thank you. Sorry. So then will we essentially do the whole 5 horses pestle, etc., relating to the SDG on the resource, each one separately, and then link that together to make sure that you two that you've chosen is actually interacting, but again, from a problem perspective, not so much an idea perspective.
Yeah, that's why you can do it like that. You could also combine them starting off with. That's why I would try and streamline it to one. Look, all the SDGs are connected in the end, right?
Yeah.
So, but I would watch out for to have too many. If you've got two, it's fine. It's just double work at this point. So just watch out. But you can either keep them separate on the poster and then show how they come together, or you can just combine them going in.
Okay. So then it's essentially just understanding the problem of, I don't know, if you wanted to take poverty, let's take, for example, just an example of, poverty and the Tshwane Events grounds. You would kind of have to understand how those two and show how those interlink. Again, it's a problem. It's not yet telling you what your plan is there. It is just understanding your market first before you even grab the idea of moving forward.
Yeah. Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
But you can say that, let's say, if using one SDG might be preferable, because again, as you said, they are all linked in the end. Because I mean, just with our concept, I can easily identify about 6 that you would address. So, which is pretty cool. But I mean, I can't put 6. That would take years to get everything onto one poster.
Yeah,
So
you can say you choose a main one, poverty. You can also just in the poster have the others there as a little bit of icons and making a triangle. What's it? The arrow with 2 heads, kind of showing how they interact.
Okay, all right. But then kind of, let's say, mainly focus on the one, and you can just maybe link, or just not link, just kind of show how the others also interact with them. Okay, that's good. Thank you.
Okay, cool. Sandisa?
Good evening, Doc, and
good evening.
Good evening, everyone. The question, Doc, it's on the assumptions under talking to humans.
Talking to humans, yes.
So we just wanted to confirm in terms of answering the assumptions, should we keep it brief or we can explain as much as possible in terms of answering?
You can explain. So explain it so that I can understand. So if I go to this value proposition again that we were talking about earlier, right? If I just say, I make the assumption that children are alone at school, it's a big assumption to make. But if I say a little bit more around it, you understand now how I came to have that assumption, right? But if I just told you that randomly, you wouldn't really have understand where I came from. So it's very difficult to say how much you must write, but just write it in such a way that we understand the assumptions. Some assumptions are easy to grasp, right? I assume that farmers sell produce at the fresh produce market, right? It's an easy one to follow. But so it would depend on, perhaps you could even ask your sister or your brother or whoever you have around you, or even a adult kid, if they just read this assumption, do they understand it? And if they don't, just add a little bit more.
All right. Just one more. So there's 10. Okay, after we gave the assumptions, now it says, what assumptions do you have, if proven wrong, would cause this business to fail? So meaning that we choose from the assumptions that we've already given.
No, so I can say, so if we go back to that thing, we're selling these loan mats she's selling it because she thinks kids are alone. So if kids aren't alone, then they're not going to buy the loan mats. So if they are not alone and it's proven untrue, then it's going to cause this business to be a problem. You understand?
Yes, Doc, it makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
No problem. Molatela.
Oh, that's perfect pronunciation. Good evening, Doc.
Good evening,
everyone. I have a question slightly off what was being discussed now, but it's related to referencing, which came up in our last meeting with our team. So I am of the impression that whatever you are, like at this level, anything that you are doing needs to be backed up by whatever research you have done, which means everything that you are doing, you need to be referencing it. However, there is a during the discussion, then it came up with the general knowledge question but there are certain things that we know based on general knowledge. So I want to find out, like, how far does the general knowledge part span? Because something could be general knowledge. For example, one example that was made is Cyril Ramaphosa is the president of South Africa. We know that in South Africa, but you cannot expect somebody in rural Malaysia to know that. So if they were to read your paper, they would probably think that there's nothing to back it up. Whereas there's other things which are general globally, for example. So I just want clarity on that, like in terms of referencing, like how far are we supposed to literally reference everything, or how does the general knowledge part of things work?
Look, at this point in this specific a part of HR Plus, right? General knowledge could come into play. So Cyril Ramaphosa being the president of South Africa would I would think can be considered for this part. It can be considered general knowledge, right? When it then comes to later on, when we go to the academic freedom, there's no such thing as general knowledge, because you are going to delve into something totally new that you have never done before. So there, Cyril Ramaphosa being the president of South Africa would probably have no bearing on anything that you are going to write. And if you want to quote him in saying something, you will quote the speech that he did at, I don't know, opening of Parliament.
And you would reference that speech?
Yes.
Okay.
But
yeah, that's what I just
reference his title. You don't necessarily say can't think of anywhere that it would necessarily come up that you say he is the president of South Africa and want to reference that. But you would reference something. I've referenced Nelson Mandela, for example, and then you would do Mandela NM the year, where the speech where this came out, what he said, and all the other stuff that came in.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. That makes sense. So basically, I just wanted to confirm like that. Going forward, because the point that I was trying to make was that we have to be in a, like, we have to already be in the habit of whatever you are
The more
saying,
you reference
backing it
it,
up.
better.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just for
Yeah.
going forward. So yeah, you have answered my question that going forward, that is everything you say needs to be backed up
Yeah.
when we get to the academic part. Okay. Thank you,
Yeah.
Doctor.
And it's very important, guys. Remember, I'm still trying to teach you how to understand the problem, how to approach research. So when we dig down and we do the rapid literature review, it's going to go very quickly, very fast, and you will have to reference every sentence almost that you put in because it's going to be other people's ideas. So thank you, Mulatela. I think it's good to just start with that going in. Alton?
Thank you,
Hi,
Doctor.
Doctor. Thanks. Just to come back to assignment 3 is again, not so 3, yes, the one that we need to do the observations.
Yes.
And this is now physically observating somebody. Am I right in saying that?
Look, you can physically observe, but it's also not always possible to physically observe. But look, and then on the other side, there's different stakeholders. So we can't necessarily go and you please don't go observe anybody below the age of 18 or any old people, right, over the age of 65.
Yeah.
But you can just go to the fresh produce market and have a look what's going on. Or, the idea here is to make sure that you kind of did a desktop thing, right? Now in the first assignment. Now, our first thing is this real? This paper poster that we did, is it real? That's the thing, that the purpose for this assignment. So just go look if it's real.
Yeah, because it says here one stakeholder identified per each team member, and I was hoping some of my team members can also ask some questions about the confusion we have on our poster. So is we saying that we identify a stakeholder for each, so it's 5 stakeholders identified, because task 2 here says as a team capture the most important jobs, pains and gains. So that to me sounds like whichever a resource or source is selected for the poster, it's not a case of observing from a distance. It's a case of probably making an appointment and spending some time here. And it says you observe what a day. So the question is, how do we find a day?
You don't have to go there or make an appointment to go. So let's take, for example, the quarry won't allow you in any case to go see what they do. But you can go and see the big yards, so you can go to different places. You can go to Builders Warehouse and see if you just stand there and have a look how people shop for cement, for example, or for bricks. Then go to the wholesale things. Just go and confirm that what you thought and paper says and the computer says and what you observed or what you put in your poster is actually true. That's what I want. That's the purpose of this. Is it true? Is it true that we go back here, that kids are really alone at school?
Okay.
Is it happening? Yeah.
Okay. in the interest of time, I will reach out to you by email for bit more clarity. Okay.
No, okay, perfect. No worries. Okay. Nonhlanhla?
Evening, Doc. Evening, everyone. I just wanted clarity on the problem on itself. So, the problem, are we going to include it in our assumption, or is it only for assignment 3?
No, you are going to assume that the problem exists. So you would have to put it in there.
Okay. Thank you
You can
so much for
confirm
that.
it. So your learning card will say, okay, from observing what people are doing, right, we can confirm that it seems that this problem does exist.
Okay, that makes sense. Thank you so much.
Perfect. Dr. Zani, before you get a chance to ask your question, how did you get that little man with his hand raised on Teams?
It's actually my little brother. He's obsessed with these things.
Oh, you know these kids, I tell you, I don't know how they know these things. You must ask him to tell us how he did it. Was it
Yeah,
cool?
I'll make sure that I ask him.
Okay, cool. How do I help you, Tokozani?
So, Doc, I just want to ask, how open are you? Okay, so one of my curiosities is how open are you for us to kind of maybe work through an assignment and just send it to you for review, and you could just give us a bit of pointers. Are you open to doing such?
I would have loved to be open to do that. The problem is if I open the door for you guys to do that, I'm going to get like 100 assignments to quickly go through.
I understand that there'll be an
Yeah,
avalanche.
so it becomes a bit of a problem. In the past, I have asked the markers. So what I will do, I will see. Let me speak to Kagiso and see how we can do that. And then I will let you know. I need to just write it down. I'm going to forget.
Understood. I appreciate that, though.
Okay.
All right.
I'll put it on the WhatsApp group. Okay.
Sounds good.
Okay. Tokozani, I will ask Kagiso and then see how we can do this. Maybe there is some internal markers in the department. Perhaps they would be willing to have a quick look at the assignments. Let me see. I will let you know how to do that. Darren, but I don't have time to look at 100. Tokozani, hands up or down?
I understood. Thank you, ma'am.
Okay, cool. Great. Darren?
Hi, Dr. Stander. So I'm going to jump a little to interviews. I know you did mention that we are doing interviews and that questionnaires are a bit big of a no-no. But how do you feel about open-ended questions on a questionnaire, keeping it qualitative?
Yes, I like qualitative research, and it would be better to keep it open-ended. And then probe a little bit more. The interviews are coming a little bit later, though. The best way to do interviews is to start with family, people close to you, then building it a bit out, and then building it a bit out, so that you also get used to doing them.
So a combination of interviews and questionnaires are okay?
No questionnaires. Keep it to interviews. Yeah.
Okay.
So start with people you know, and then people you know a little bit less, and then people you don't know.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Lady. Hey, Darren, any guys have a set of questions? I'm sure I put there's a specific set of questions that you can ask.
Good evening, Doc.
You,
lady. Yes. Yes. Doc, I need a clarity here when coming to citation, because we consulted different sources, and if we can put all of them on the poster, it will be very much busy. I confirm we put them on the different page. Can we do that, or all?
Yeah, they can come. The reference list is on a different page. Yes.
Yes. Okay, on the different page.
Yeah, the list is never counts for page numbers.
Okay, thank you so much, Doc.
But this inside text, citations as well. In-text citations.
On a different page. No, they must be next to what you cite. Put the little numbers out and they work better for this. Thank you for that idea. the numbers work better. See?
I wanted to check on the observation. Is simulation allowed, or it has to be actual?
Is what?
When you can you imagine, or does it have to be actual? The observation, does it have to be the actual, or you can simulate? You can write to say, I observed things when you are imagining when you haven't actually observed it.
It would be better to see what is happening. That's why I say, but you can take any stakeholder. The idea is is to make sure that when you start doing interviews, that you know who is it that you need to interview. So that's why I put it like stakeholder, so that you make sure that if I do interviews about things, that I know who the right person would be. So it would be better to observe. If you can, there's ways to do it online also, but the idea would be to go and see if it's really what you think it is.
Okay, thank you.
Even if you take a customer, for example, like I said, go to Builders Warehouse, go to Spar. When you go to Spar, that type of thing.
Thank you.
Okay. You see the questions in the text. It's an avatar. I will look how to do the avatar. I'm going to create an avatar for myself. Portia.
Thank you, Doc. Evening. I just wanted to check. I sent you an email, though, to find out how do I get into the WhatsApp group. I hear you've been mentioning it a bit in today's session, and I also can't put anything in the chat. I'm not sure if there's any permissions that I don't have. Says you can't send messages because you're not a member of the chat. I'm not sure if I've missed anything in terms of that.
Okay. I'm going to put in the chat, I'm going to put my number. Then you can just WhatsApp me and then I will.
Thank you so much.
Oh, it's because you didn't log in using your MyUnisa email address. So you say you are external.
I went through directly through the platform on additional on announcements.
Yeah, so then you log in probably using private or work one. So that's why you won't be able to type.
Okay. I'll see if I'll tell you if I see the message on you with your number on.
You can't say, okay, I can give it to you 079
079
894 2574.
2574. Okay, thank you so much.
Okay, cool.
Thanks.
You can use different colors. You can use anything you want to. You don't have to reference assignments, because you are nobody else to reference except yourself. Okay, I think we are then, let's see if there's our hands, that's new people. I think we are then done for the evening. Yeah, guys, so